Jesus, am I really having to deal with this again? I don't know why I thought it would be okay. I mean, I do know what the word omniscient means. But really, did he have to make that big of a statement? And the boys too? Yeah, this isn't good at all. But he's right. At least it's nothing I couldn't handle. Just didn't want to. Enough belly aching. Hit the intro.
Are you ready?
Oh, hi guys. Von Murder here, cordially welcoming you to episode 7 of the Fantasy Football Monsters. This week, I give you my very capable co-host, Jimmy.
When the hell do you cordially welcome anyone? What the hell's gotten into you?
Oh, Jimmy, my good man. I have no idea what you mean. I'm an open door kind of vampire.
This is sus AF.
Well, I mean, I may have gotten some texts from an old friend of mine.
So what the hell does this have to do with you turning into the Stepford vamp?
So, my friend Joe wrote, since you didn't see anything from last season, Joe is currently serving his 200-year term as Heavenly Adjudicator. This is what most humans refer to as God. We used to pillage together back in the 1500s. He's a real killer. Nice guy, but you don't want to piss him off. He's a lot more Old Testament than New Testament.
I still don't have a clue what the hell this has to do with anything.
Well, we're friends, but Joe does like to keep me in check a little, as you can see from this text exchange.
And this guy can do that? Also, why does he text like an illiterate 12-year-old valley girl?
First, he hasn't actually been down here for over 400 years now, so he's still new to all this. He only finally got his first smartphone last year when he realized even he needed some way to communicate. Secondly, yes, last season I had a nearly invincible team and he handed me L's the last 3 regular season games just because I was counting on wins before they happened. I repented and then won the title.
Well, it looks like he said something else here too.
Oh, that's nothing. Don't...
I can see why you might not want me to see that. Oh man, that's fucking great. Listen, man, if we're nice to each other, this show would be bored as shit. So, Joe, I'm cool, but I appreciate it, man.
Oh, thank Joe. That was not going to go well. Okay, thanks for doing me a solid, you rotting sack of shit.
Well, speaking of Morty, where is he?
Apparently he had an accident. I don't know the details, but he isn't here.
Oh, damn. I guess Joe really didn't like him that much.
Ah, okay. He'll be back, but he's home licking his wounds, literally.
Good. He annoyed me, but I didn't want him dead. I need a yin to my yang.
Okay, moving on. We have some monsters to cover, along with some surprises. First, Rumpelstiltskin. Hold on to your hats for this one. You can mostly ignore the card text, because it's way more than that. Each week, before games, you may play this card in secret by contacting your commissioner. You list a card you want to block your opponent from taking in the event you lose. If you win, nothing happens, and it's treated as though it was never played. If you lose, and if the opponent attempts to steal the player you choose, then you get to keep the player, and you get to steal one from their roster, and you keep this card. If you lose, and they pick any other player, you still lose the player, and you lose this monster.
Holy shit! This monster is ridiculous! The mind games you can play with it are off the charts!
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think you actually need to play the card. At least not in the first 9 to 10 weeks. Its mere presence is going to screw over your opponent. They will feel as though they can't take your best player because you could have them protected. So they go after your second best, then think you might have thought that they would do that, so maybe you protected that one. So realistically, you go for the third best to be safe, and even that is hoping rank them the same way your opponent did.
The cost of guessing wrong is enormous. I can see situations where someone just might not even attempt to steal against you at all to be safe.
Yeah, it's like a perpetual silver bullet that could end up protecting your top 2 cards. Now it's possible opponents sniff a pattern when you lose a week, then lose a player, and then don't lose his card. It's a no-brainer that you're using as insurance. But the question will always be, how long will they use it as insurance for?
The mind games are actually endless. But looks like you won't have to deal with this since the Rumpelstiltskin player in your division guessed wrong week 2, so it's gone.
Yeah, I'll take it. That's one landmine I do not have to deal with. Next up, here to cover the Terminator, live via satellite, is the Terminator!
Hello, and thank you for having me. As you know, I'll be back because I can travel through time, and so can you. Once all the games are done, you can make a single change to your opponent's lineup. Take out the guy who dropped the goose egg for the guy on your bench who broke out that week.
So I kinda like this card, though I feel like in most cases you'd want Dracula or Frankenstein or even Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde instead. Here it requires you to have an overperforming bench player and an underperforming starter you can swap out legally. Sure, it happens, but if you're playing it right, there should be precious few times it works that way to any real amount.
Yeah, that checks. Sorry, Arnold. You only went in 4 of the 8 leagues. The 3 of them, it was in the second round. Of the subset of the 4 monsters you can play after games to tinker with, I've got you as the worst one. Sorry.
I do not take offense to this at all. Any monster card you play after games is good, even if you're the worst one. Thank you guys for having me.
Next, live in studio, I give you the Invisible Man!
Oh hey everyone, I'm here to talk about myself. Something you don't get to do too often when you're invisible. So, last season, no lies, I sucked. I was basically a 1-week silver bullet. This year, I'm better. This year, you can use me twice. Once is for the 1-week silver bullet, and the other allows me to make 1 tinker to your opponent's lineup. Whoever I put in the starting lineup, they have to play, and whoever I put on the bench, they can't play.
Yeah, so you're a bad silver bullet and a bad Jekyll and Hyde?
Yeah, but I'm a bad silver bullet and a bad Jekyll and Hyde.
Didn't like Silver Bullet at 3 weeks, and I really don't like it at 1 week. That said, in a situation where it looks like you're screwed and you absolutely can't afford to lose a certain player, it's reasonable. While it's a bad Jekyll and Hyde, this is a better ability in general, since there usually is some fairly clear swap. You will almost for sure benefit you.
Yeah, I still don't love it, but it has some uses. That said, I have this one still ranked just outside my top 12, but in its old form, it would be an absolute dead last. So it's still an improvement.
As long as you're trending up. But thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, since Morty isn't here, you want to stick around for the rest of the show?
That would be great. Thanks.
Cool, so just calling you the Invisible Man feels too formal. You got another name?
Yeah, you can call me Griffin.
Excellent. Thanks for sticking around, Griffin. Okay, moving on to our general topic of the week. Streaming.
Hell yes! I need help with this myself. With Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus and all the other services going up in price, I need to know which ones are important to keep and which ones to drop.
Good lord, no! I'm talking about the... Wait, why the hell do you have Disney Plus?
Don't you know about Fun Day football this weekend when the Falcons take on the Jags? How the fuck am I not gonna watch a Pixar NFL game?
Also, I'm a Marvel guy, so there's that.
And The Simpsons.
And obviously The Mandalorian.
Okay. Wow, I really walked into that one. But no, I'm not talking about that kind of streaming. In fantasy football, streaming is the concept of basically always looking for specific positions on the waiver wire week to week because the position is otherwise inconsistent.
Well, wouldn't it just be better to grab a good one and roll with that?
I mean, yes, but with some positions like tight end, there may only be 4 or 5 worth starting week in and out. For everyone else who didn't get one of those, rather than suffer through a bad tight end with a bad matchup, they might try to look at the upcoming matchups and find one that is particularly good for that player.
Damn, I didn't realize Griffin was a shark, but he's exactly right. This is also done a lot with team defenses, kickers, tight ends, and even quarterbacks in non-superflex leagues. Generally positions where you only need one of them, and the position scoring can be heavily matchup based.
Oh, you mean like trying to pick up the defense of whatever team is playing either New York team?
Or knowing that the Broncos and the Vikings had the most field goals made against them in 2022 and taking a kicker against them.
Both are completely spot on. Don't sleep on quarterbacks either. Decent quarterbacks in great matchups or shootouts could go absolutely nuclear. Now don't get me wrong, if you have the San Francisco defense, or Justin Tucker, Josh Allen, Travis Kelce, you're probably not streaming that position. But inevitably, in the draft, you will end up a little short at some position. This is, of course, assuming that Travis Kelce is still more focused on football than he is being a Swiftie.
This strategy can also be super important when you're in a league with a very light bench and can't afford to stash.
Okay, so when do you have to do this? I mean, if you see they have a good matchup, doesn't everyone else?
Yes, so you have to be a step ahead. We just wrapped week 3, and this isn't the time to be looking for week 4 streamers. It's when you should be looking for week 5.
And take a little time to check even further out. If it's week 4 and you see a certain player isn't great now, but is likely to have 3 good matchups in a row weeks 7 through 9, it might be worth picking up now to prevent someone else from getting them first. It's just like chess. If they're thinking 2 moves ahead and you're thinking 4 moves ahead, you're probably going to win.
And lastly, check that bye calendar for your star players. When you see what weeks your star players are on bye, try to identify a player on the waiver wire with a good matchup that week. That way you're not completely behind when that bye hits.
Now, I personally don't like streaming as a general strategy, except for maybe defenses. It's best to try to identify and draft top players and stick with them as much as possible. But sometimes it becomes a necessity. But we've said it a few times, but I damn sure want to make sure that you hear it again. Plan ahead. Wait until the week before and you could be completely screwed. The Browns, Chargers, Seahawks, and Buccaneers are all on bye week 5. Prepare now.
For example, if you have Justin Herbert, maybe you see if Sam Howell is available. Washington has a matchup against Chicago and their league worst defense, so that could be an excellent streamer that week.
Well, look at you giving out all the hot tips.
Tight ends are a great one so far this year. They have, as a position, been so fucking trash that it's been better to play the matchup than the player.
Speaking of trashy tight ends, did you check on the survivor numbers?
Yes, it seems a lot of players did not check out our last show. 11 people chose tight end, which did lead the league. 8 people each chose running back and 8 chose wide receiver.
Well, as a fan of the show, I suspect you're now going to figure out which ones made what you feel were the wrong decisions and skewer them.
Well, damn, he is a fan.
Hell yes, we are. I'm starting with people who chose running backs, because I bet there are a few F-ups here. Give us a minute to get a consensus opinion.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, finally we have it. We're just going to give summaries here, because I do not need to go over all of this again.
Leatherface's retreat, ex-wife, and Balerion, it took no real discussion for you 3. Y'all all should have gone tight end, easily.
Yeah, even I had to agree. All of your tight ends were bad enough that this should have been easy for you.
Dr. Jekyll also should have gone tight end, but it wasn't as much of a slam dunk.
Both of your RBs and your lone tight end of Freiermuth aren't great, but drop a wide receiver or 2 to fill in those and let Freiermuth go and be done with the crappy tight end play.
Last, for once we would have had at tight end, is Tom Savini's makeup artist, but there's no skewering here.
This is the guy who kept us away so long. You could have made very solid cases for all three positions given that roster. In the end, we did call it tight end, then wide receiver, then running back, but the difference was so small that we basically said it was the player's choice and moved on.
So for those that we would have had gone wide receiver, first we have Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, Kittle was literally the only super noteworthy player left after he had Henry and Keenan Allen jacked from him. Go with the position that's required the most and make it wide receiver. Hell, even you know you should have gone wide receiver, you having started 3 actual running backs and 3 wide receivers this last week.
Vasily and Mahler has TJ and Kittle, so definitely wide receiver there.
This one was closer, but given the state of your running backs and wide receivers, and given their longer term outlooks, we decided it was wide receiver, but it wasn't ridiculously far off.
And then we have the Hallam Humans. You are the 5%. Well done.
Well, this was fun. Let's do wide receivers now.
Hell, I've got the time.
Sure, what else am I doing?
5 hours later.
That wasn't as painful as the first one, but it was still painful. Chucky's Last Stand, Red Rum, and especially Man Bear Pig should have gone tight end.
No doubt.
Man Bear Pig's only tight end was Taysom Hill. This should have been the easiest call ever. But also, it looks like this guy got replaced by a new owner, which is not shocking at all.
Mephistopheles, first of all, WTF dropping a G on Ford. Secondly, it's closer, but I still go tight end here.
Play Kittle in the flex. It will make everything much easier.
The Kraken, you're within player's choice range.
You didn't have enough wide receivers, but the ones you have actually aren't bad. Your running back room is pretty sus, though.
Forced to decide, we'd have to say running back, but wide receiver is reasonable.
Dementors, Dracula, and Purple People Eaters, good job. Definitely got it right.
So are we gonna look at those who got tight ends?
No. If you got a tight end, you almost undoubtedly made the right decision, so we're gonna assume you're good.
So what's the final tally?
By our numbers, 19 people should have gone tight end, 5 should have gone wide receiver, 1 should have gone running back. The other 2, despite us thinking it should have gone one way or another, it was close enough that we'll count them as the running back and wide receiver chosen by the player respectively.
So by our numbers, that's 71% tight end, 22% wide receiver, 7% running back, which doesn't line up perfectly with what we said initially, but it's pretty close.
Well, guys, this has been fun, but this ran a bit longer than I expected, and I got to get home to the missus.
Can't you just tell her later that you were already there and just sleeping?
No, because we have a rule that got instituted after she got tired of freaking out when she would bump right into me and then see nothing.
That's reasonable. Don't get in any trouble and visit us again anytime.
Thanks, guys.
Is he gone?
How should I know?
Are you gone? Okay, moving on.
Gotcha! Oh man, gets them every time. Okay, I'm really out now.
Check and make sure the door actually opens, please.
Good. Okay. Well, we're doing an abbreviated version of the recaps, because that took a while. Once again, welcome back to the show, the Game Master himself, Jigsaw!
In week 3, friend of the show, the Curse of Medusa, absolutely obliterated Teen Wolf 422 to 187, with the largest natural point total seen so far this year. He tried using Candyman, but Stafford only throwing 2 picks means it won't be in play next week. In the matchup of the week, between undefeated players, Jason Voorhees dropped 403 on the Crypt Keeper, but the Crypt Keeper dropped Frankenstein on Jason, giving a 156-point swing and giving Crypt Keeper a 439 to 324 win. The 439 is the current highest score for anyone in any week. Other teams moving to 3-0 include Justin's Jigsaw of Judgment, El Kakoi, Wolfman Coverage, Slenderman, Falcor, Michael Myers, Demogorgon, The Yeti, Swamp Gator, Hulk Smash, The Terminator, The Monster Mashers, Mick Taylor, Black Eyed Children, The Fiend, 18 Weeks Later, and Scott Von Zarovich. And yes, even you, Von Murder. In Monster News, every league has a Freddy and a Mike Myers, so there are 80 monsters to be played anytime. Since Invisible Man is played twice, we count it as half of a play. Week 1 had 5 monsters played, Week 2 had 4.5 monsters played, and Week 3 had 8. With 17.5 played, there are still 62.5 monsters left to be played. Thanks all, and don't forget to check out my new movie this Friday. The games we play there can get a little more intense. Back to you.
So I saw lots of weird shit going down on your side. What the hell happened?
Yeah, so I fucked up. It gets lonely in my den because I usually end up murdering my guests. So I have too much time on my hands to tinker with. So I tinkered in Baker Mayfield and tinkered out Matt Stafford. The result is that I had to Dracula Devontae Adams onto Tyreek Hill to secure the win. I would have won by 0.35 points otherwise.
Oh man, you can't catch a fucking break. First Chubb and now this? And you did see your opponent next week, right? This is gonna be rough now without your Dracula.
Yeah, I thought about it long and hard. If I don't use it, I lose Tyreek or Lamar, and then I'm really in a spot next week. At least this way, I was able to take Jalen Hurts, and I get rid of Baker. I mean, I like him, but he fucked me, so he's gotta go.
And I saw you put in a bid of over $899, Devon Achan.
Yeah, but this is a very unique circumstance. It involves looking at my next opponents coming up. 3 of my 4 next opponents are undefeated. I think my opponent next week may have one of the strongest teams in the league. More importantly, they have Raheem Mostert. Looking at the team, looking at Raheem, I said, what would I bid if I were him? The answer was easy. Everything. If he gets Achan, he will always have the lead Miami back, along with the number 2 wide receiver. We just saw what they can do. They made Denver look bad, and remember that was a Sean Payton coached team. Miami is the real deal. I absolutely cannot, under any circumstance, allow him to get Achan. And he has $898 right now. Luckily, the other 2 people who are also undefeated have even less fob. If one of the other players who aren't undefeated get him, I'm not nearly as worried, but if someone undefeated is getting him, it's gonna be me.
So this is your justification for blowing everything? What about the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's a huge gamble that I can win this week. If I don't, this could be a problem quickly. But if I don't do it, then I definitely would not pick me to win next week. And I'm still in the same pickle. I'm in a very forced go big or go home situation here. You don't see people hit the waiver wire often who legitimately could be a league winner popping up after week 3. If I do win, then instead of the waiver wire, I can just steal people the rest of the year with any luck. You see this, Joe? I'm not overconfident. I'm fighting tooth and nail. Don't wreck me, bro.
Well, I guess we'll see how this one works out in the end.
Speaking of endings, that's it. We're done. For Jimmy
And Griffin. Just because I opened the door doesn't mean I went out it.
Fuck, dude. We may have to have a vest rule around here for you, too. For Jimmy and Griffin, I'm Von Murder, wishing you a wonderful evening, all you wonderful people. Ah! Nah, stop. Right now. Jim, what the fuck? That is my thing.
Well, it was your thing. Apparently being one of Joe's favorites has its privileges. Ha ha!